Morning, I think.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will start the session. So, my name is Patrick Junge. I'm the Retail Director at HF Group. I would like to welcome you all in this maiden webinar. So, we have just under 500 participants confirmed for this session. On the screen, it shows that the webinar is to start at 10 a.m. and end at 11 a.m. Given the questions that we've received and the number of participants, we have extended this to 10 a.m. to noon today. So you will just allow us to engage and learn from each other as we cover this topic. So this particular topic, which we chose to start, targets business customers and business individuals in this country. And the topic at hand is navigating business through the impact of COVID-19. This being our first one, we wanted to address the issue that globally we are all facing, this pandemic. And as we navigate through this time, we will have webinars at least once a month to support our clients. And we invite you to just share with us topics that you'd like us to cover that would assist you navigate your business through this time. What can you expect today? The areas we look to address today is how COVID-19 has affected businesses and the key concerns of business owners. We will also discuss emerging opportunities for businesses and tips on how to remain afloat. We have government incentives. We'll also discuss government incentives for SMEs and how businesses can benefit from this. And finally, we'll also talk about the banking sector support to business owners. To go through this and to help us navigate this session, we have 4 presenters. The first presenter is Mrs. Lillian Shomba. She is a Chief Financial Officer, Kushiony Development Company. Lillian is one of our clients, and we want her to speak and for you to hear directly from a business owner the things that they are facing. The next presenter, we have Chamber President, Mr. Richard Ngatia. Mr. Richard Ngatia is the President of Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry. He is also the founder and managing director of Megascope Healthcare Kenya Limited. The next presenter we have is Mr. Philip Mwema. He is the managing partner at Anderson Tax. And he will help us just by taking us through some of the tax incentives that the government has spoken to and other opportunities that may exist for businesses. And finally, we have Mr. Robert Kibara, who's the HF Group Chief Executive Officer. And he'll just try to bring all this together and also demonstrate to you, our customers and partners, what the bank is doing to walk this journey with our customers. And without taking much time on this, I would like to call in Lillian to start the presentation. Just a few rules. You can type your questions, and we request that you just mention to whom the question is targeted to as the presentations go along. Then we will have substantive time at the end of the presentations to address questions, and also have a few of you just table questions directly to our presenters. So over to you, Lillian.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Lillian Shomba, like I have been introduced, and I'm so privileged to be. Yes.
Sorry, Lillian, do you want to share your screen for the presentation?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just you can just share.
Okay. So, okay, Philip, I'm still not able to share. Okay, there we go. So, as I have been introduced, my name is Lilian Shomba. I work with Kishaya Development Company Limited. I'm the head of finance, human resource and administration. So I was requested to share on our experience as owners of SMEs and how COVID-19 has affected businesses and the key concerns of business owners. So without further ado, I will begin sharing, and I must point out that the points I'll share may not apply to all SMEs because we are in different industries, and although I believe our experiences are so similar because we operate in the same environment. And so what is a person's first reaction when they come face to face with danger? The first instinct is to run away and find a safe place where they can hide from the danger. And if they have an opportunity, they'll make sure they stock up enough supplies so that they can survive through the period of being hiding. This is exactly how most of us behaved when the first case of COVID-19 was announced in Kenya. Our retail outlets were crowded as people went into panic buying for the fear that basic commodities would run out of supplies as factories and businesses closed. I understand some were seen with trolley loads of tissue papers, and you know, it's just so funny. I'm still waiting for someone to explain to me what stocks of tissue papers have to do with COVID-19. Anyway, what we experienced in the first 10 days immediately following the confirmation of the first case in Kenya was a sudden increase in demand for some of the products as people stocked up in readiness for what was expected to become a season of scarcity as the country.
Lilian, we have lost you.
Oh, you have lost
It's
me?
okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay now.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just hope my internet will behave. These are some of the challenges of COVID-19. I have about 2 learners who are using the same internet. Yeah, so what I was saying is that we were forced to join the bandwagon, the panic buying bandwagon, to stock up enough raw materials so that we could meet that sudden increase in demand and prepare for expected shortage in raw materials because our suppliers were also expected to close. So what have we experienced? What are the challenges that we have faced during this season? Number one is we have seen closure of businesses and reduced levels of operation for most of the businesses. So as COVID-19 reached, the cases reached 15, that was on 23rd of March, the government instituted new measures in order to curb the spread of the virus. Bars were closed, restaurants could not host sit-in customers, and some businesses closed or scaled down their operations as their owners tried to follow social distancing guidelines. The next thing we experienced, remember we had a sudden rise in demand in April in the last 2 weeks of March because of the panic buying. So what happened in April was a decline in the sales volume as demand for products, and specifically for us, the bottled water demand went down because most of our customers in the hospitality industries were not placing any orders. We experienced further decline in sales in the month of April as general demand for products continued declining and as more businesses closed and people stayed away from work. It is also probable that most people started reorganizing their household budgets and in preparation for tough times ahead, and therefore reducing consumption of some products at the household level. Social distancing requirements also meant that there were no more social functions such as weddings and funerals, where products like bottled water and other soft beverages would be consumed. Retail outlets are not able to host promoters and merchandisers who ensure that our product is present on the shelf and in good condition. And as they tried to minimize the number of staff in their outlets, we had to withdraw the merchandisers and the promoters. The reduced working hours also meant that our staff are working fewer hours in a day, thus reducing output. Our sales and delivery vans are also operating at a limited capacity due to the government directives. So only a few sales staff are accessing the market in a day. We have also experienced difficulties in collecting payments from existing debtors because some outlets are either closed or are generally struggling to stay afloat. That has resulted in challenges in meeting our financial obligations, like paying our taxes, paying our staff salaries, suppliers, financiers, and many other obligations. Now, as people continue defaulting in payments, it's impossible to enforce collections because, as we know, before you would take action, if you're in a property business, you would lock up the premises or you would disconnect supply of services. That is currently not possible. And those who are trying are actually being treated as being very unfair and insensitive to what people are going through. Taking legal action is also not an alternative. We know that most lawyers are not working, and the courts are only hearing cases that have been certified as urgent. As a result of the lockdown, there are so many physical barriers on our roads, which has resulted in increase in transport costs. Our drivers also are subjected to some unethical behavior by some of the enforcing officers. So what has happened is transporters, because of the barriers, the many barriers and the delays that are there on the roads, and the inability of their drivers to get basic services such as accommodation, meals on the way. And then of course we have seen closure of our borders and delays as the mandatory testing has been imposed. They have been forced to increase transport costs despite the decreased prices in fuel. So that has actually affected our deliveries as we try to meet the demands in other parts of the country. We have also been unable to obtain foreign supplies, and alternative sources are quite expensive, and we have also experienced reduced supplier credit. Since January, we have not been able to procure new stocks of diapers and sanitary pads because factories closed in China. And although China is slowly reopening its economy, we have learned from our supplier that it is highly unlikely that businesses will return to normal soon due to the high cost of raw materials. Coincidentally, that is used to make diapers and sanitary pads is the same material that is used for making masks, and that has led to increased demand for that particular material, resulting in increased prices. And as I have mentioned, alternative sources from other markets are expensive, and it's highly unlikely that suppliers in China will be able to extend credit to customers soon. So what are our key concerns as business people, and how have we tried to address this? One of our concern is uncertainty. There is going concern risk. It's difficult to plan We have no indication of how long this pandemic will take to end or get under control. And it is therefore very, very difficult for us to plan for the future of the businesses. And most of us are not sure if our businesses will survive in the foreseeable future. Most businesses, as we speak, have shelved expansion plans as a result of the uncertainty that they are facing. We also fear that there will be massive job losses. Already, as I mentioned, we have had to let go of commission-based staff and cashiers, merchandisers, promoters, because they are not able to access the retail outlets. We have also concerns about safety and security of our staff and customers. We deal in fast-moving consumer goods, and therefore face-to-face interaction with our customers is almost inevitable. We are concerned that our staff will be exposed to the virus as they interact with the customers and in turn infect the rest of the staff. We also have continued with production in order to meet the existing demand, while at the same time ensuring safety of our production staff and also that our product is not contaminated. How have we addressed this concern of safety and security? Number one, we made sure we train our staff to make sure they understood all the safety requirements. We have also provided hand washing points at the main gate and other places within the complex and sanitizers. There's a thermometer at the gate and each staff temperature is taken before they can be allowed into the factory. We have also provided masks and gloves to all the staff members and ensured that they keep them on as they maintain social distancing within the business premises. They also had sanitizers at every floor. We have a thermometer at the entrance of the residential building, and tenants have actually been very vigilant and have agreed that they will not host any visitors within the premises. As a result of job losses and closed businesses, we know that crime level has gone up, especially phones and bag snatchers by border riding robbers, especially in residential and areas. This has affected our staff also. And so we have advised them to encourage customers to pay through mobile money and that they keep their phones away and carry their bags securely while in public places. The other concern we have is failure to cascade government incentives to SMEs. The central bank has reduced the base lending rate thrice this year from 8.5 to 7%, but this was not reflected in our financing costs. The reduction in the VAT rate from 16 to 14% has not cascaded to the SMEs and onwards to the customers because suppliers have chosen to retain the difference as a profit margin. Fuel prices in Kenya have fallen tremendously within this season, but the effects of this reduction have not yet reflected on our electricity bills. So we have also experienced poor cash flows as a result of the harsh economic environment. Our payroll expenses have not changed much, and some of our suppliers are still demanding cash on delivery. This has resulted in constrained cash flows, and as a result, we are avoiding making any credit sales other than to customers who have proved credit worth during this season, and therefore selling mainly on cash basis. We have also engaged our customers and agreed on payment plans. We have extended huge discounts to customers, obviously reducing our profit margins in order to encourage them to continue consuming our product and to pay on time. We are also experiencing challenges meeting our financial obligations, as I mentioned. So this has affected timing in payment of salaries, taxes, loans, and other obligations. We have therefore had to scale down our operations and, as I mentioned, reduce the number of temporary employees. We have also tried to renegotiate terms with our suppliers where possible. And we have suspended procurement of non-essential services and consumables. The high transport cost has meant that our profit margins have gone down. And we fear as it becomes economical to meet orders which do not make economic sense, then we will lose our market share to the competition, because we are only trying to process orders that are economical. And we have to encourage customers to try and make orders that we will be able to deliver without making big losses. And as I mentioned, inability to obtain foreign supplies, we are worried that we'll lose our business again as a result of stockouts. And that if we have to look for alternative sources, then the prices of the commodities will go up. So as I conclude...
Lilian, sorry. Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes. So I can proceed, Patrick?
Yes, sure.
So yes, I'm just concluding. I just want to encourage business owners not to lose hope, not to give up. As sure as morning comes after a dark night, this will surely pass. So let's continue praying. Let's keep the faith. Let's keep working and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lilian Chomba. That is much appreciated, and quite a bit of detail, and you have painted a very, very clear picture in terms of what is ailing our SMEs, and I think many of our customers can resonate with what you've said. So I will go straight ahead and invite the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Richard Ngatia, to do his presentation. Mr. Ngatia, over to you.
Thank you very much. And I want to wish a good morning to all of us. And thank you for engaging with us for this very important conversation on how SME businesses are navigating through the impact of COVID-19 from the start of the outbreak, as we heard from the previous speaker. To my fellow panelists, Ms. Lilian Komba, Mr. Patrick Mwema, Mr. Robert Kibara, it's a great pleasure to be with you this morning. Now, we as the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, that was established in 1965, are here to support the SMEs to make sure there is a conducive environment for business, for those businesses to continue and sustain their businesses. And we fall under three pillars, which is advocacy, and we also have networking as well, and trade facilitation. I'm sure most of you have seen us trying to make sure we advocate for you as the MSMEs, SMEs, to make sure that you are receiving finances from finance institutions. Whenever you have any grievances, we echo your voice to the legislature to make sure that they pass a bill that will come to accommodate the business sector. And therefore, you're aware that SMEs account for about 33.8% of the GDP, with 3.3 trillion against a national output of 9 trillion in gross value. And that is an incredible rise of 13% recorded in 1993. Now, it employs approximately 14.9 million Kenyans, with the highest proportion based in Nairobi of 27.8%, so to speak. Now, the small business sector makes a huge contribution on multiple fronts. One is fostering innovation, creation of new markets and consumers, a higher tax base, generation of employment, and we all rely on these small businesses in our daily lives. Now, at the Kenya Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we recognize the challenges facing our members and will continue to develop robust intervention mechanisms and solutions across all the 47 counties countrywide alongside the national government to ensure businesses continuity and sustainability. Just to mention, we are also across all the 47 counties where we have our structures led by our National Governing Council, our chairman, the board, the secretariat, and therefore any business person who either are a member or willing to join us, then you can do that through our chapters across these counties. While we have our headquarters in Nairobi, and really ours is to come and support your businesses. One of the initiatives as the chamber we've had is one to approach the financial institutions to see how they can be able to reduce the interest rates from a 13% to a single digit. And I'm happy to say that we have successfully done that with one of the financial institutions. We are also in partnership with development partners to make sure that the supporters, one in capacity building, technical skills training, in making sure we train on financial literacy, and of course to accord them with products that they have tailor-made for them so that they can be able to access the funds. And I'm happy to say, because I've had the previous panelist talking of cash on delivery has become a problem. We have partnered through the Swedish government under the FSD, which is a financial sector deepening funds that can be able to accommodate SMEs and MSMEs in terms of accommodating them as they do their retail businesses. We are calling it retail pay, where your customer will be able to get the amount and guarantee from as long as you're in that system, and you can be able to deliver your goods to your customers. The other product that an initiative we have had and already now employing the mechanisms is partnership with the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce through under UAE, and in partnership with Etihad Insurance, where you can be accommodated as the SME, can be accommodated with goods, and there is no limit on value as long as you have the capacity and you can prove that your books, your records are up to date, and you are a member of the KNCCI. Then we can be able to guarantee you to get your goods in Sharjah, where you probably have your customers, and where you don't have, then we shall be able to support you. They will give you between 60 to 150 days to pay back the money, and that will become a revolving fund. Under the partnership with development partners, again, we have other partners already working very closely to make sure that those affected and those who can prove they have been affected during this COVID-19 pandemic, then they can be able to get some grants. This morning, I was in conversation with GIZ. This is a German development with a very good program on PPP, whereby they are going to, we are looking at the GIZ providing accommodation of grants to both SMEs and of course corporates, and therefore they are going to provide between 10 million shillings to 200 million shillings. This will be launched next week, and therefore I will encourage all the interested all the interested companies that would want to have these grants so that they can support you in one, training, in market linkages, in making sure that you have the capacity to continue at the continuity of your and sustainability of your business, then you can be able to apply. So really for us as the chamber, we are here to support and to partner with you, the financial institutions. We are here to partner with the national government and the county government, particularly in having dialogue between the private sector and social sector, and also the government. So with those few remarks, I'll stop there and just wait for any questions that will be coming across. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ngatia. May I request a change if we could mute participants as we have the panelists speaking. Thank you very much, Mr. Ngatia, and you have elaborated quite a bit, a very wide array of opportunities out there for our SME customers. We will quickly go to Mr. Mwema, Mr. Philip Mwema, Managing Partner at Anderson Tax. Then over to you, Mr. Mwema. You can project your screen.
Thank you so much, and good morning to all. It's great seeing you, Ngatia, and indicating that indeed SMEs, just to put this in context, account for 33.8% of GDP. Let me paint a picture of what that means. If I look at 2019, we had about 46,000 jobs created, and our GDP growth was about 5.4%. If I look at the average over the last 5 years, between 2013 and 2019, our average GDP growth is about 5.5%. SMEs account for 33.8% of GDP. Then 2020 happened. COVID-19 happened. In my humble view, looking at the numbers, and numbers is what I do for a living, I see 2020 as having an average GDP of 1%. If you take the 33.8% of SMEs, which then impact the GDP, the impact will be huge. And onto my presentation then in terms of what the government did to cushion SMEs against this pandemic. I mean, the first thing was 24,000 shillings per month being tax-free. And this is now a permanent solution, meaning post-COVID-19, this won't change. So this is here to stay. And it's important to mention that, and I'll come back to that point shortly. And then the income bands have been widened. What that means is, the whole idea is to have more disposable income for individuals in your pocket. Then for corporate, the corporate tax rate was reduced from 30% to 25%. SME specifically will benefit because then consumers in an ideal world will have increased spending power, okay? And proprietors or entrepreneurs can ideally invest more in SME ventures. The corporate tax reduced at 25%. It's aimed at cushioning the loss of income or profit and to provide additional working capital. Ms. Shoba talked earlier and said, unfortunately, with the VAT reduced from 16 to 14%, a lot of entrepreneurs or traders have kept that as a margin, hence beating the purpose of trying to transfer that 2% onto consumers, and that's highly unfortunate. SMEs can benefit if you push for higher profits into the future with a reduced rate of 25%. It's more money to you as an entrepreneur. We definitely have to work harder than before. Unnecessary cost, if there is a time that you have to look at your cost. A classic example is today's webinar. Normally, with a housing finance, HF, in a hotel, hiring rooms and all that, this is a new norm. So cutting costs, shutting off unnecessary costs will be a new norm. And then you've got to find new business of line where you have to invest if you can. And that's really the opportunities into the future. Looking at taxation for SMEs, specifically on the turnover tax, and this was a brilliant move, which I was party for lobbying that. It's reduced from 3% to 1%. Then if your turnover is between 1 million and 50 million, then you fall under the turnover regime. And now it's also applicable to incorporated companies. Previously, it was not applicable. So now if you're a company and your turnover is between 1 million to 50 million, you can now enjoy the turnover tax. On rental income, professional fees, sadly, those again are not subject to turnover tax. there's a silent thing not being said in law. It appears if your annual turnover is below $1 million, you're then not anywhere within the tax. You won't pay tax. It's not being said loudly, but that's what, those are the subtle matters in legal terms that are there, and that's the appearance on that. And that's a good move for SMEs. So we get the mama brokers and the hustlers, the real hustlers, out of the tax regime. Again, for SMEs, how can they benefit? Push for higher sales in this year. Change your business and move from corporate tax or the installment tax into turnover tax. The rate is pretty low, effectively it's 12% annually compared to 25%. So any SME, move, register for turnover tax on the iTax if your turnover is between $1 million and $50 million. If you have losses that you've accumulated, don't be too quick to go to turnover tax. Do a cost-benefit analysis. If your losses outweigh the benefit of turnover tax, do not change. So look at your books and just run the numbers as you do that. And then, like I said, your sales is below $1 million tax. It's good news. It's not tax. But this year, it's a year where we invest, you invent, you hibernate, and you preserve cash. Because it's a miracle, COVID-19 will basically kill the financial year 2020 completely. So invent, invest, and sell. And most importantly, preserve cash, hibernate, preserve cash. Cash is king. On the VAT, as I alluded to it, so it's about, it's reduced. Mr. Shomas alluded, it's being passed on to customers at a bit of a shame. There's a release of 10 billion for VAT refunds. This is a time to unlock your money within KRA. The money is available to be given for genuine VAT refunds. Engage with KRA, engage with your advisors, engage with your accountants. Let them get that refund for you. As I said earlier, cash is king. Get the money is there for VAT refunds. There's also an amazing opportunity to offset withholding VAT against other taxes. And here, SMEs can benefit from targeting sales to consumers who have savings. Stock up. Right now, stock up. Because the entire supply chain, as Mr. Shiba has alluded to, is messed up. So stock up right now because we have tough times coming ahead of us. Then push for VAT refunds and offset the withholding VAT. Other incentives coming through, just for the increased capital allowances. We've seen the need to build hospitals. So hospitals is it's a new place to invest. Never mind, I think in the last 2 months, hospitals, the larger hospitals are seeing an occupancy of 20% in their wards. So the question then is, are diseases really spread between 7 and 5? And should we hold on to this for long? It's a question out there. The ministries and government departments has now been given 13 billion to pay suppliers. So engage with ministries, engage with the departments. There's money which has been allocated to them in terms of just paying suppliers so that we keep this economy going. There are a lot of borrowing costs. There's high liquidity in banks. Right now, nobody's borrowing. Money, the banks are sitting with a lot of liquidity. As your lender, renegotiate and push for a lower interest rate. I believe Robert Kibara will be more than glad to look at that because he's sitting on money. We suspended listing on CRB, and that's great. Take advantage of that SME and borrow to invest in your business. Right now, opportunities, hospital business is a great investment. There's a billion equipment because of the capital allowances being given there. Get government to pay suppliers fees. And then the loans, man, guys, rack up these loans and invest. The rates are amazing. These are the opportunities in these times that you behave differently and to try and just stay afloat and wait to the next level when the pandemic ends. Could the government have done more? I think yes. I think would have extended the time for paying balance of tax because cash is a challenge. Installment taxes, I think we could have extended time for that and have shared those thoughts with government. Filing returns, which is coming up in June, I think that is something we could have extended time. And then I think it's time to launch Buy Kenya Products campaign. The PPEs, which used to be an accounting term, now doctors have taken it over. It's time to get PPEs. I saw Kitui, I think we must, great. It's time to buy Kenya, to jivunie kuwa Kenya. I saw the president of the weekend launched a proper stimulus package. Again, implementation of that will be in June when the CS presents his budget speech in about 2 weeks in the National Assembly. Those are my thoughts. Thank you so much, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Philip. Very great engagement, very great presentation. And also, I can see quite a flurry of questions coming through. Some are getting answered, but we are also keeping a log of these questions, and we'll be reaching out to the participants to ask those questions to the panelists and the presenters. So we will go to the next presenter, the Group CEO of HF Group. So over to you, Mr. Robert Kibara.
Good morning, everyone. Only if you can put up the presentation. So first of all, we thank you very much as HF Group for joining us this morning as we navigate, or we discuss how to navigate business through the impact of COVID-19. I will just take us through a few slides. First of all, I realize there are quite a number of participants who are joining us who are not necessarily actually have had the interaction with HF. And I'd like to spend about 3 minutes talking about what we do, where we're coming from. And then we're going to spend time talking about the impact of COVID on businesses and how then the banking sector can actually support customers to navigate through this pandemic. So if I can start who we are as a group, HF is used to be called Housing Finance. Now we are called HF Group. And we have got 4 entities. We've got a bank, which is HFC. We've got HFDI, which is our property development arm. We have an insurance agency, and we have a foundation, and that's really what is called HF Group. In terms of ownership, HF has got about 21,000 shareholders, cutting across the entire public. Britam owning 48%, and SSF about 7.5%, and the public of Kenya 42%. So some people think or have the view that we have had the view that we are a government-owned institution. We are not, and Britam is owned by on the right-hand side, you can have listed down who owns Britam. So in terms of our journey so far, we started off as a mortgage lender. Now we are a full service bank. So we've got SMEs, we've got personal banking, we have got diaspora banking, we've got institutional banking. We basically are a full service bank. And in recent years, we have made some success. Last year or so, you see the top left deposits have grown. Phillips mentioned that banks are sitting on cash. We are too. Our interest expenses over the years have continued to reduce. Operating profit growing, top right, from 134 to 161. Our cost income ratio has continued to reduce. And at the bottom middle, we have announced our results today, and we have moved from the losses we had last year, and now we are profitable as a business, both as a group and as a bank. In terms of a measure of service called Net Promoter Score, we are actually progressing very well. We are now touched an NPS. Those who know NPS is a measure of service across all industries. It's a standard measure of service levels, how customers perceive their service. And now we are actually touched 48, which is a good growth. That's all I'll say today about HF. Today is not, we are not talking mainly about HF. We are talking about business unusual. Business unusual and how we can navigate through the pandemic. I want to start by just talking about what we have learned so far. What have we learned so far through this pandemic? The first thing is that the businesses that will actually survive this pandemic will be led by people who will avoid normalcy bias. And what is normalcy bias? This is basically not accepting the possibility of significant disruption. If you look at the US, if you look at many different places, this last weekend, the US, where people have had the highest number of deaths, about 100,000, people were at the beaches in millions. And this is very, very human. What happens is that when you are faced with a new difficult situation that you are not comprehending, because you want things to go back to normal, then you assume normal is coming tomorrow. You assume that normal is coming tomorrow and actually start behaving as if things are actually normal. But the reality is that this is going to be a bit of a, I wish I could say anything different, but this is going to be a bit of a marathon rather than a sprint. Short of us having some cure or, some cure or a vaccine, this will persist. We hope that it ends soon. We hope that we can be able to find a solution. The government so far has managed the pandemic very well, in my view. Basically, we have not had our health systems overwhelmed, which is a very good thing. I know our neighbors in the south have said, let's go out and just party, but the reality is that this is a dangerous situation. But what we are saying here is that it's just good to be realistic with the situation, that we are where we are, gonna probably take a bit of time, and we then need to take business decisions that reflect that. The second thing we have learned is to have multiple options. This is basically to have multiple options, and that means that having just one plan is dangerous, because nobody in the world really knows how this thing will go. If you ask the president of Kenya what decisions he's going to be making a month from now, he doesn't know. None of us knows. We are all going through uncertainty, levels of uncertainty. One thing we know, and here is the good news I want to talk about first, is that this pandemic will end. That is the good news. This pandemic, all pandemics end. And we'll be looking back at some years from now, and the hell the businesses have had to go through. And while we are in it looks like it's probably not going to end, but one time it will end at some point, because all pandemics normally end. So humanity generally will beat this. Now, but the one thing we know also is that the old normal will not come back. The way we used to operate, it will take quite some time before we get back. For instance, remote working is going to be here to stay. Like for instance, what we are doing now, this is going to be here to stay. The hygiene revolution will be fully established. So businesses, especially who are in service industries, must think about hygiene and how people can be able to come to your business safely. If people will fear about their health first before when they are thinking about coming to your business. If you run a hotel, if you run a bank like us, if you run any institution, an insurance agency, people will really care about themselves first and whether they can actually fall sick before they come to your premises. And assuring people is very, very important. The great digital acceleration is underway. Through this pandemic, I doubt there is anybody who will not have ordered something online by the time it's over. For us in the banks, we are seeing people have disappeared from the banking halls, and we are seeing a lot of transactions have moved on the mobile, and that's what we are facilitating. So digital acceleration is going to move forward, and the physical distancing phenomenon will last for a while. That's another fact, something that we have. So there will be some fundamental changes that will persist beyond the pandemic. And then, of course, there is what we have learned is that we have got to manage through fog. When you're driving in the fog, when you're driving around Kinongi area, you know that when it's really, really foggy, you know that you've got to make decisions ahead of the curve, that your reaction time is really limited, it's much lower. And businesses that then will succeed are the ones that will make decisions early. I know we are all human, there are some difficult decisions that need to be made in businesses, but the businesses that make decisions early will succeed. The ones that delay the decisions and hope things get better tomorrow, that will be a gamble. And what we are telling businesses to do is that whatever decisions we need to make now. Now, so how have businesses been impacted from where we sit? What have we seen as the impact of businesses? We have got three categories that we have seen. The first one is we have got businesses that have actually, believe it or not, been positively impacted by the pandemic. We have businesses that have been negatively impacted, and there are some people who have had a calamitous impact. And I'm going to go through each one of them and what we see as a strategy that you should take as a business head navigating your business through these three stages. Now, who are the people who've been positively impacted? People who provide video conferencing, people who provide remote working solutions, people who provide groceries, for instance, people who provide health equipment and equipment, like my friend, President Richard Ngatia. Home entertainment, people who have got home entertainment because a lot of people are at home. Those people are having huge sales. People who do online business like Amazon are actually doing very, very well. They are actually not complaining from a business point of view. And for these are the very few. Most of the people have been really, really impacted. These are the very few. And for them, they have a good problem. Just service your customers and ride the wave. That's really what we can say and about that lucky group. Those lucky souls who are enjoying who are having good business flows at this time. Then we have the category of people who have been negatively impacted. And the majority of businesses will fall under this category. This is where revenues are down, whether you run a petrol station, whether you run a consultancy practice, whether you run a distributorship business, whether you run whatever kind of supplies, whether you are in the real estate. Sales are low, revenues are down significantly, and businesses are operating between 10 and 50% in terms of sales. There are some businesses that have had to close whole lines of business, and these are businesses that are basically barely surviving. This is where now leadership is required, because you have to open for customers, and yet you can barely actually survive. You can barely meet your cost. And this is really where Lillian Chomba was talking about. There is still something happening, but it's actually really difficult. Now, how do you navigate this? From where we sit, it is very, very important to pivot quickly. Pivoting quickly is to just relook at your business afresh and make strategic decisions that can reorganize your business. Now, remaining in denial does not help. If you've got to take some actions around, for instance, people, then you need to take those decisions. If you need to, for instance, start doing deliveries or online, getting into online business, and there are quick solutions that are available in the market now to get businesses online, then we move to that quickly. And then I just want to say this, is that it's going to be painful for this category of customers, but take your pain early. There is a book I like that is called Eat That Frog. And essentially what it says is, if you went to a doctor and you are told that for the illness you have to eat a frog every day for you to keep well. So are you better off eating it in the morning or in the evening? And in my view, or in that book's view, is that you're better off taking your pain early, and then you can relax knowing that you have made your decisions, or you have already taken your frog, for that matter. And so whatever painful decisions need to be made, as Philip was saying, to conserve cash, those decisions need to be made. You have to shamelessly renegotiate your contract. We are doing that here in the bank, And we have saved huge sums of money from our landlords. We have saved money from certain people who we have contracted before. And because nobody wants to lose a client, you can actually renegotiate your contracts now. There are clauses of force majeure, for instance, that you can deploy, and lawyers can advise you how to go about that. Basically, what you are saying is that you've got to reshape your business quickly in such a way that it can then survive. But the thing is that executives have to deal with and think fast and act quickly. That's really what we are advising customers to do. Because if your business survives, then it will take care of all those people that we've had been taken care of. It sounds unkind, but that's really the reality of our time. Now, then there are those who have had a calamitous impact. For these categories of business, this pandemic is a pure, calamity. If you are running a restaurant, at one point you had a restaurant, now it's closed. You had airlines, you have got salons, you've got bars, you've got dentists, you've got event planners, you've got DJs, you've got categories of people who can no longer actually work, who can no longer open their business. And even if they do, they're probably operating at 5%. And even if the government is saying that it's going to reopen, for instance, if you are running an airline or you're running a restaurant, our customers are going to come tomorrow. If you are running a movie theater, for instance, our customers are actually going to come tomorrow, even if the government says they can come. So, and for this group of people, they have seen their business decelerate from 100 to 0 in a month or in weeks. The strategy here is you can find new ways to serve. For instance, if businesses, for instance, were restaurants, they could probably do deliveries. They could probably get online. They could probably do calls, direct selling, directly to people. But quite honestly, it's quite difficult for most of them. If you are a distributor, you are distributing alcohol, for instance, the bars are closed, so your customers are closed. So it's quite difficult. And for these businesses, many of them we will just have to hibernate. And what do we mean by hibernating? When there is a catastrophe coming, animals have a habit of burrowing themselves, and then they are able to last through the pandemic. And for businesses, this means just basically taking out as much cost as you can, totally taking out as much cost as you can, and keeping the business, just keeping the level of operations in business at such a low level so that then you can preserve cash and capital and live to fight another day. I saw a quote that is associated with Jack Ma that says that this is not the year for profit, this is the year to survive, and if you have survived, you'll have made profit. And for many categories of businesses, this is really what we have to do. Now, we hope that things will actually improve, but we've got to plan knowing that it's probably going to take a bit longer. What I must say is that for businesses that will survive, there will be opportunities that will come. And that's really what I want to talk about next. Life after COVID. Now, life after COVID starts now. It is not going to be another time in future that we will say, now COVID is over. For people who are smart enough, for people who will not stay in denial, for people who will make the changes early, there will be opportunities. And let me say this, the secret here is to think and move ahead of time. Every crisis has winners. Even in this crisis, there will be winners. There will be people whose businesses will survive and come out stronger, for sure. There were businesses that were created in the different crises we have also gone through as a country. And in this business, in this crisis, there are emerging opportunities. There is obviously online education that is coming up. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on workplace safety. There is the digital delivery services that will be there. The other day we had, for instance, there is a company I see on the roads called Dust Deliveries. It was non-existent the other day. Now all motorbikes on the street have their names. Then you've got ramping up healthcare capacity. There will be telemedicine. People are afraid of going to hospital. So telemedicine facilities. There will be just moving your businesses online. But the most important one I'd like to talk about is disintermediation. There will be businesses that will emerge that will eat up your business. For instance, if you are in distributorship, between the manufacturer, you've got the distributor, you've got the retailer. But there will be nimble small companies that will just pick goods off the manufacturer straight to the client online, and that's disintermediation. So will be businesses that will be significantly impacted even after COVID because their business model has been taken away by other people. That will disintermediate others. And the reality is just to review your business and ask yourself, how will consumer behavior change post-COVID? And ask yourself then, how can you reshape your business today and start reorganizing your business today, thinking and moving ahead of time, and so that then you can not only survive, but emerge stronger. And then there are also opportunities that will come out from government. Like for instance, governments all over the world will look inwards for self-sufficiency. Now we know that depending on China alone doesn't help us. We will look for local solutions. Yesterday there was a webinar that had been hosted by the PS Housing, talking about some houses that are going to be built on a 4,000 acre land at the river. And they're talking about providing all those things that are required to build that project locally, rather than looking abroad. And there's going to be a surge in local manufacturing, for instance. People feeling that, governments feeling that they need to support local manufacturers so that we can be able to move forward. And so there will be some opportunities. And in this crisis, ladies and gentlemen, there is going to be some winners. Moving forward, how can then banks create an enabling environment to protect businesses during this time? The first thing, and this is advice not only just for banks, but for everyone, is to stay close to customers. For instance, here at HF, what we are doing is, we have actually been calling customers to just get to understand what they are doing, how are their businesses, what's happening to their business, so that we can help before it becomes a crisis. And we have had constant conversations with customers, and every businesses need to do that, because the time you can easily lose customers is now. The switching costs have been lowered significantly, and people can actually move. Like for instance, I've personally not had seen my barber for the last 3 months, but I'm still shaven. So customers will switch, and this is the time to actually keep close to them. What we are doing also is that we are doing timely, and banks are doing timely availment of affordable credit. And what specifically I mean here is basically even just helping customers to restructure their facilities. If customers have got some surge for customers who have got some surge in supplies, in demand, supporting them through this, and just helping our customers to survive the crisis. We also need to pre-qualify customers for working capital facilities post-crisis. There are a lot of businesses that are good, that have been impacted by this crisis, and banks can take advantage of this to also support customers and also grow their businesses as well. Innovating solutions is important. For instance, now we are doing a lot of digital work, digital innovation, because customers have moved to the mobile and to online. There's a lot of work we are doing as banks to do that. We need to support businesses to remodel. There will be businesses that will require to change the way they do things totally, and just helping businesses to remodel is important. Co-developing solutions with customers is very, very important. Every customer I have met, and I have met very many in this crisis, both online or even face-to-face, have been impacted very differently. Petrol stations have been impacted differently, hotels differently, transport businesses differently, people who sell clothes very differently. And so no single solution will work. And banks then, like ourselves, need to be prepared to co-develop solutions with customers tailored to meet those specific customers' requirements. And that's really what you're doing. But the most important thing is to maintain a human touch. We all live in this country, we live in this world, and we know that we have seen how much impact this pandemic has had on very many people. And I think we need to be humans first before we are bankers. We need to be business people and humans first before we are bankers. And that's really what we are telling our team here at HF, that we've got to listen to customers and understand what they are going through with a human touch, rather than just looking at things from what we learned in banking school. The next, and my final slide, my second last actually, is specifically what we've done. We from HF, we are doing a lot of restructures, giving people moratorium on interest and principal. We have done loan repayment extensions. We have waived transaction fees for things like, for instance, M-Pesa and other mobile banking solutions. We have availed additional limits for quick cash through our Whiz applications to just help people through this pandemic. We have allowed customers time to adjust their business operations. We have availed financial support to enable the businesses that are able to reopen, like some of the restaurants, to actually be able to open and refocus their operations. And we continue to provide virtual platforms for businesses to be able to operate. Now, what are you going to expect from us going forward? We continue to be a full service bank. We will continue to seek to understand our customers at a deep level, and we have a team that is ready to work with customers in your recovery journey. And we know that everyone has actually been impacted one way or another. So thank you very much. That's really what I had to say today. I'll get back to now the moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Robert, our Group CEO. I think just to recap and take our participants through the journey we have just gotten this far before we go to Q&A, we have quite a bit of time. We have about 50 minutes of Q&A, which is more than enough to do the Q&A. So I think we took through our participants, through a customer view, where Mrs. Lillian Shomba took us through just exactly what is this that she has experienced as a business person. Then we took you through the sector view for SMEs, and Mr. Ngatia took us, the president of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, took us through the opportunities and also a snapshot of just what the industry is facing, especially the SME sector. We also took a very detailed view in terms of what is the government incentives on the table, specifically around tax, which Mr. Mwema took us through, and then we saw the banking side. So we have quite a number of questions, and I will just go right into it. I think, do we have Daniel Murigi? We can have Daniel Murigi ask his question. In the absence of that, so that we don't spend too much time, I will actually ask this question. The question is to Mr. Ngatia, and how do SME businesses register with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry? So over to you, Mr. Ngatia. You can take that question. Hello, Mr. Ngatia, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, moderator. I think for the criteria for you to join the chamber is very simple and very clear. Just go to your next chapter within your county. We have different categories. We have categories where we have MSMEs, those who pay 2,000 shillings, those who pay 5,000 shillings, 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, up to 100,000. That is payable to the chapters, and that is an annual payment. You need to have your documents updated, tax compliance updated, You need to have also all your details, have them with us. But should you not have them, we shall also help you to make sure that you keep your record so that you're eligible to join the chamber. We have another category, which is beyond 100,000 that you pay at the headquarters level. And this, we have silver members who pay between 100 to 300,000. We also have gold members who pay up to 500,000 Kenyan shillings. And also we have patron members who pay 1 million shillings up to 2 or 3 million shillings. And of course, this is to make sure that we support you in areas of your businesses and depending with your capacity. And through the Desk of Economic Diplomacy, we are able to connect you globally on trade missions, on making sure that any manufacturers locally can be able to sell their products across the globe. We issue, under the trade facilitation, we issue certificates of origin, which we have a non-problematic, robust system that you can apply online and get your certificate, and that will allow you to export your goods any part of the world. Also, as patron members, again, there are many areas that you benefit from us. Also, the SMEs and MSMEs are looking for products that will be able to, support your businesses. We have had a lot from Housing Finance Group. Thank you very much to actually elaborate and give us the highlights of what you as the Housing Finance do. And this is exactly what we, the Chamber, are advocating for, to make sure that the financial sector really understands businesses, understands the challenges, and particularly this time of the pandemic. So for you to join the Chamber, just call before the end of this. I'm going to project our email address, our website. I'm going to project telephone numbers and those that you can be able to contact immediately, so that they can also allow you to register online. You don't have to come to our offices. You can register online. You can make payments online. If you have any difficulties in terms of payments, especially this time, we are looking at a way of making sure that that payment can be spread to about 1 year, so that you can be paying monthly. So those are the areas and how you can join us as a member. And remember, like I said, we are 20,000 members, but under the members, we also have associations. Associations join us as an association, as one. For example, we have the Juakali sector. They are 17.1 million, but they are our members. They are all our members, but we deal with them through the association of the Juakali of Kenya. We have PERAC. PERAC is the members within the hospitality industry, pubs and restaurants. All those are our members across the country, and many other organizations that have joined us. And under the World Chamber Federation, we are under that umbrella, under that family, that across the world, every country has that chamber. We also have the International Chamber Conference, ICC. So again, this is a very strong movement, and we want to urge all of you, the listeners, participants, join us as the chamber, and we are going to mitigate all the problems that you're facing, especially this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Katia. So we will go on to another set of questions. Mr. Mwema, there are a couple of questions that have been posed to you. I'll just ask them to you, and then you can respond. I'll take the first two. So the first question, actually, the person is an anonymous attendee. For professional services, can we apply for turnover tax if we have not reached the threshold set? That's the first one. The second one is Philip. We are in development. We in development are experiencing repeated tax recomputations and the VAT from recomputations and VAA from KRA. It is taking a lot of time to close with very little change. Most times it's only reconfirmation that indeed all is well, time consuming. I think this came from Isaac Gitoho. So Philip Mwema, if you could take those questions, and then we can get to the next ones.
So thank you, Patrick. So on the anonymous attendee, professional services are not part of the turnover tax. So those are exempted from turnover tax. And in my slide, I think I did put that. So it's not part of the turnover tax. Isaac Gitoho, I appreciate your frustrations on the VAA in terms of recomputations and what's happening with VAA. So unfortunately, what KRA has done is they've moved into VAA and killed the old traditional audits, okay? And they've now gone further in this year's finance bill, which Waziri will be presenting into Parliament with his speech to anchor it into law, okay? So yes, it's taking a lot of time to resolve issues from VAA. What we've agreed with KRA, and I chair the Public Finance Committee of ISPAC, so I'm a voice of about 2,000 accountants in the country. So with that, I engage with KRA. So what we've agreed with KRA is we'll draw a line in the sand in regard to VAA, and that line in the sand will now move it backwards just from 2016 going forward. And that will ideally reduce the issue for VAA. But during this time of pandemic, when you receive these VAA notices, default, always object, always provide the information that's requested for. Patrick, if you allow me, I'll also take the question by Sheikh Mohammed, who's asked,
yes,
VAT benefits are realizable after some time in future. How will they relieve SMEs with their immediate cash needs? Mohammed, Assalamu alaikum, pole sana. In terms of the VAT benefits, I can feel your frustration in terms of the benefits being long-term. But again, realize that VAT, as of the very annoying tax, is a consumer tax. And as a result of that, it's meant to hit the final consumer. For SMEs, if you have a VAT refund position with the money allocated by government, now it's a time for you to file your VAT refund so that you're able to take it through. Omondi Omamo, you've posed a question saying some incorporated SMEs with less than 10 employees and less than 1 million were not able to file returns on time and have been fined heavily. Yet during that period, they never made any cent. That's the SME. How can the tax fine burdens on SMEs be? Are there auditing firms that cater for SMEs? Two responses to that, Omondi Omamo. If you refile a return and during this period of COVID-19, KRA are listening. And my advice to you is do a quick application of waiver on iTax onto KRA. And I can tell you for a fact, they are listening and they are granting the waivers because they're not operating on ivory tower. It's the first time I've felt KRA being human and they're listening to taxpayers. In terms of audit firms, audit fees, I'm sorry I'm not an auditor, but there are firms that cater for SMEs. And I think I saw a comment from one of the participants saying you can get in touch with him and he can guide you on that. Back at you, Patrick.
Okay, thank you so much, Philip, for the very elaborate responses. I will quickly go to the next set. I know there is quite a number of questions on GIZ. We will compile them and we'll ask them as the next set. But for now, we need to go to the group CEO, HF. The first question, so I'll just call out the two main questions and then give him an opportunity to respond to those. The first one is the CBK has reduced base rate twice this year. However, this has not translated into a reduction on interest rate payment on loans. Is this something HF Group is likely to consider? That is one. The next question to the group CEO is HF going to consider new facilities for us customers of HF? I would allow Mr. Robert Kibara to respond to those.
Thank you for those questions. Starting with the first question on the CBK reduced rates, has reduced the CBR and SHF considering that? And the answer is yes, we are. But I just want to just explain a bit about interest rates and how they are determined. And I want to start with the supply side. Let me first of all explain how basic banking happens. How banking happens is that we collect deposits from customers, and that's what we call the funding or the supply side. We collect deposits from many people, many of them institutional depositors, PE funds, and others. Development finance institutions pool all that money together in a pool, and that's the money we actually use to lend in a very simplified way. So what affects that? Part of what affects that is the prevailing rates in the market, and one of the biggest determinants to those rates is government borrowing. So if government, for instance, today is offering T-bill rates at say 9% for 3 months, then customers have an option either to bring money to the bank or to take to the center, or to buy the T-bill. If the government is offering an infrastructure bond at 14%, then customers have an option in a very simplistic way to just invest their money in that infrastructure bond and not the bank. So what that means then is that partly the government has a huge part to play in terms of determining the rates in the market. So how does CBR help? CBR has a signaling effect. It basically shows central bank or the the central bank or the governor will advise on where is the market going and what is the trend on rates, and eventually that the CBR is announced, and right now it's actually at 7%. Now, what that means then, it shows that rates are going down, and therefore banks and all parties should expect the rate to come down and actually reduce their rates. Now, so that's really the supply side of the money. Then there is obviously the demand side, which has now people who want to borrow, and those people are of different profiles, different risk profiles, for instance. So you have got a customer who has defaulted on a few of their loans on the CRB, and so their rate will be much higher than somebody who has had a very good credit history. And banks now are being encouraged to do what is called risk-based pricing, which is to price loans based on a customer's risk profile. And there is a whole process of determining then what is a customer's risk profile. Then based on how banks are able to source their funds, then they can be able to determine how much they can be able to lend at. And as I said, the government has a huge impact on that. And that's why you hear occasionally people saying that the government is crowding out local investors or businesses from the pool of funds. Now, right now, banks do have the liquidity levels in banks is actually relatively high. And banks then actually can consider, based on their own individual cost of funds, can actually then consider that. And that's one of the things that then HF Group is in the process of considering. But I also must say that this signaling effect of the CBR takes actually time, because if you've got a deposit at 10%, you've got to take time to reprice it. If it's a 3-month deposit, you take time to reprice it lower, and then you can be able to offer a loan at a lower rate. So I expect that we probably will see rates coming down, depending obviously on the activities of the government as well. But that signaling effect does actually take time. But to answer the question directly, this is one of the things that HF is then considering. The other one is to ask whether HF is going to be offering facilities to existing customers. Yes, we are. We are open for business. As we speak, we have actually been disbursing facilities. Obviously, we look at what are the needs of the clients, where exactly are you investing, what business are you doing, what is the requirement, is it a recovery package that you require, is it a working capital support that you require, Is it time you require to actually be able to reorganize yourself? Is it a project that you are doing that has stalled because of this situation and you need us to boost it? We are doing that every day to just support customers through this process, and the answer to that is yes.
Thank you, Robert. So we'll go to Mr. Ngatia, and the question to you is, what steps have Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry taken to help enact a startups bill similar to the ones in Tunisia, Senegal, to enable the businesses participate in brilliant idea of credit guarantee scheme? Mr. Ngatia? Do we have Mr. Yes?
Please repeat your question.
So this is the steps that the chamber has taken to start to support startups with a startups bill similar to the ones in Tunisia and Senegal, to enable the businesses participate in the brilliant idea of credit guarantee scheme. Hello, I may be having some. Sorry, let me just. Hello. I think we'll come to you, Mr. Ngati. I think we may be having some network challenges, sir. So we'll get to the next set of questions, and as we allow Mr. Ngatia to just come back online. Just give me a moment.
My apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sorry about that technical hitch. Now, regarding your question on the steps that we as KNCCI have taken in terms of what has Tunisia and Senegal done in the first and second crisis to pass the Dedicated Startup Act. Now, this has been leading and providing capacity. We have provided draft measures of management around financial management within the MSMEs, and engagements that we have identified some gaps that will address through policy and legislation a notion of a Startup Act. Now, this will be critical, definitely for future growth, and we intend to engage all stakeholders and duty bearers as well. So yes, whatever steps that Senegal and Tunisia have taken, I think we need also to embrace the same, so that we're on the same page.
Sorry, thank you very much, Mr. Ngatia. The next question is to the group CEO, HF. Is HF lending beyond housing? This is a question to our group CEO. Is HF lending beyond housing? Mr. Kibara?
We have several different divisions. So we have the one that we are very well known for is housing, lending both to developers and to off-takers or mortgage customers, people who want to buy a house, or for owner occupation or for investment. But the last few years we have also set up new businesses. So we have got SME banking, which is fully functional. We've got part of the reason why we are hosting this webinar today is because it's to support our SME banking customers, and we do lend to SMEs. Then we've got other departments such as digital financial services, where we do a lot of lending online. We have also personal banking, where we lend to individuals for other purposes rather than house. So if you want to get a personal loan for personal development, or so whatever personal use that you have, we do actually lend for that. We do also lend to diaspora customers. So we've got quite a number of diaspora customers who borrow directly from us. So we have a full service banking proposition, and we are open for business even through this pandemic.
Okay, Mr. Ngatia. Yes, Mr. Ngatia, another question to you. So what steps have Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry taken on mapping of SMEs who are clustered in either formal or informal chamber groups in various databases such as financial institutions, NGOs, government agencies, and churches, after which either rather soft loans or grants they can be channeled to them. That's a question. I think there was a mix-up. I think the person was typing quickly. But really, what are the efforts just to map out SMEs who are in groups of chambers, both formal and informal? Mr. Ngatia?
Thank you very much for that question. I'll just highlight just a few of the areas that we have taken steps. One, the KNCCI membership is from 7 counties and constitutes of micro and small enterprises, medium and large enterprises that I have elaborated very clearly. Now, we have businesses in wider sectors of key businesses. We have a database management program that classifies the member based on the nature of businesses, annual turnover, and the number of employees. Now, in supporting the SMEs to access credit, we have an eligibility criteria that qualifies businesses based on the above mentioned measures: nature and level of business, that is 1; establishment and governance structure, 2; business income levels, and the level of support. There's also, from the criteria, we can also classify who qualifies for the loan or credit, at what levels, and give further recommendations to the financial institutions or to also the development partners who are supporting us in that regard. After this analysis is done and forwarded, we share this information and data with the relevant lenders and institutions to consider to give the support. And for those who qualify for grants, we share the potential partners who can give support. Remember, we as the chamber are there to support you. We are there to capacity build you. We are there to support you on training for preparedness of markets and also financial literacy. And therefore, for you joining us as a member, that is, it does not end there. So we hold your hand, we make sure that all your books are in order, and especially where we have people being clustered by the credit reference bureaus. We also in negotiations with them so that, and especially this time, so that those people who actually are unable to continue with business because of such stop gaps, those gaps, then we can be able to unlock for them. They continue with their businesses as they also develop a way of repayment to their institutions. And therefore, looking at the moratorium that the housing finance has spoken about, that is one area we are very eager to make sure that our members are supported during this time, whether it is 1, 2, or 3 years, because like you said, this is a problem that is living with us, is a problem that is going to be with us. But at the same time, we are also looking and trying to persuade the government to now look at probably lifting the curfew. And this will also go in hand to support the hospitality industry. It will support the retailers. We can also work with aggregators to make sure that goods are delivered across the counties. If they can just lift within all the counties but county movement is restricted, then I think that will also help us in terms of mitigating. So in terms of taking steps in mapping the SMEs, either informal or formal sector, I think those are the first steps.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ngatia. We will just take another round of questions to Mr. Kibara. Then I will ask the panelists to give their closing remarks. So to Mr. Kibara, this comes from Faustina Mani. Does HF Group have affordable products and services for SMEs, especially since it was mentioned banks have plenty of money at the moment? And also another question from Faustina is, what are the solutions that HF can offer to support businesses who want to get into the online retail?
So thank you very much, Faustina, for those questions. So the first question is that does HF have affordable products for SMEs? The answer is actually yes. We have been in the process of putting together a customer value proposition for SMEs, which is fully functional now. And what that means is that depending, of course, on your business needs, if you are, for instance, operating in Kenya and you've got a business, you need working capital, we can actually be able to finance you. If for instance, you want to expand your business, we can actually be able to finance you. If you've got, say, a landlord and you want to expand again your business, we can finance you. If you operate your business, say you source things from outside the country, India, China, Turkey, and other places, we've got actually trade finance facilities that you can use, whether you like to have, you like to use LCs or post-import finance. We also support local customers who are doing, say, contracts and projects. If you would like to have bid bonds, performance bonds, you'd like to have advance payment guarantees, you would like to, virtually anything you can actually require for SME. If you've got a team of SME relationship managers, very experienced people who can actually work with you and tailor make the solutions that you need for your business. And the good part is that we are actually not expensive. We know that what businesses are going through, and we try as much as we can to make sure that we can be able to remain as affordable as we can. So whatever your needs are, if you're in consultancy as well, we've got solutions for that. Now, and I have talked about the actual solutions we have, but in terms of the advice I would give to somebody who wants to take their business online, first of all, there are solutions that we can find and we can refer you to that can allow you to just get online easily. What that means is that you can actually be able to get what you can call a platform or a templatized online solution that you just plug in your product on it and launch online, and in a matter of days you can actually start trading. So there is that obviously business referral support that we can give you, but at the same time, if we look at your business and it's a business that can actually be able to go online, but there are certain financial support that you require, then you can have a conversation with one of our relationship managers and you can be able to look at that. It's quite easy now to go online. There are very many solutions. We've got a lot of local developers who can do that. And the earlier businesses go online, the better. I'll just give you an example. We operate on Kenyatta Avenue Junction and Koinange Street. And I've been looking at restaurants. The restaurants on this street that did not have delivery services had to close when this happened. The ones that had delivery services did not close. They actually continued to operate. And that tells you that the earlier we get businesses online, the better. Obviously in a safe way, because there are also problems with online businesses because of cyber security. That you need to make sure that you protect yourself, otherwise you can be, there are a lot of not so good people also online. So that's really just what I can say, Faustina. If you need any sort of support, please get in touch with any of our relationship managers in any of our branches. We are open for business to support SMEs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kibara. I would like us to end there at the moment. I want to just call out to Mr. Isaac Mulwa. You had asked a question around agricultural cooperatives. Mr. Andrew Kimani around the motor vehicle and garage industry. We have noted all these questions, and what we will do is we will respond to all of them. Part of registering on this particular webinar is you shared an email address, and therefore we will respond and send this out. So as we would like to get the closing remarks from our panelists, so we will start with Lillian Shomba. Lillian, any closing remarks?
Yes, Patrick, but before I make my remarks, allow me to answer one question that I picked from Daniel Newton.
Yes.
He wanted to know how the featured company is keeping staff on the payroll, even with reduced revenues. And just to answer him briefly, as I mentioned, we have let go of commission-based staff already, merchandisers and promoters. We have also reduced the number of casuals. We are paying limited mileage for our sales staff. There is no overtime with the reduced working hours. And we've had continuous discussions with our staff just to prepare them, for pay cuts and paid leave. And we have already effected pay cuts with some of the senior staff after discussions with them. So my closing remarks, what I would like to say is that I know it's a very, very difficult season, but I would like to urge the business people to remain positive, support and encourage one another. And I'm sure together we will emerge victorious. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lillian. I am seeing Caroline Anderson. You'll make remarks on behalf of Philip.
Yes, I will.
Yes.
Now, I've followed keenly the conversations, and there are fantastic things happening for the SMEs, the MSMEs in this country. So there's a grant from GIZ that President Gantia has spoken about. There are all the facilities that Bwana Kibara has spoken about from Housing Finance. And all these, I would like to encourage as many of the MSMEs to approach the two institutions and apply for, because for us, key is continuity of business. And so for us, our support would come in terms of planning. So if it comes to financial or tax planning, we'll engage with both institutions to ensure there's greater uptake of these facilities. I would really encourage you to ensure that you make sure that at the end of all this, we still see businesses alive and well. So like Philip had said, conserve, invest, invent yourself, and sell. So all the best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Closing remarks from Group CEO Robert Kibara.
So first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for making time to join us this morning. As your host, we really appreciate that you could join us. I'd like just to say that, first of all, this pandemic, as bad as it looks, it's a global pandemic, is actually temporary. This pandemic will go, all pandemics end. And therefore, it's important that we remain optimistic but realistic, in terms of businesses. Businesses don't survive by people being both realistic and making the decisions. And these decisions, we need to make them early. Whatever decisions you need to make for your business, we need to make them early. But it should be based on information, as much as information as you can gather. And part of this session is helpful because you get information that can actually help you through this pandemic, so that then we can all build resilience. I'd like to close by saying that HF is open for business. We would like to support you. We'd like to hear from you. If you are our existing customers and you have an issue you'd like us to discuss, what we've told our teams is that we have to remain human, and we have got to get to understand what really people are going through, and we are proactively doing that. We remain open for business, and together we will succeed through this pandemic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My apologies, President Gatia. Over to you. Your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And just to add on to what Caroline alluded to, it's important also to look at as part of the proposed economic stimulus to support the SME sector. The government, through the Treasury, in the process of establishing an SME loan guarantee scheme, which will support SMEs to secure credit. Now, this a well-designed physical framework and measures to caution and support business recovery efforts to allow more liquidity and cash flow to the sector to promote enterprise investment initiatives. Now, we as the Chamber, we will partner with the government, we will partner with the banks to make sure that we provide a stronger awareness of the scheme. And over and above that, it is important also we look at other neighboring countries, what it is that they are doing and what is it that we are not doing as a country, because you have seen some of the countries, for example, like Ethiopia, they have attracted an FDI of about $3.6 billion last year. We have Nigeria, they attracted 3.5 billion USD. There was even Ghana. Ghana is a smaller country than us. They attracted 3.3 billion US dollars. We as Kenya attracted 670 billion US dollars. So we need to look at what are the policies that we have put in place. The legislature, the policies, as they formulate those policies, are they really coming to support the private sector and the business environment? And in closing, I really want to say that let us hold on to our gains that we have already made. And because you have seen, as we are living in an extraordinary times, faced with a health crisis that has evolved to become a socio-economic crisis with all sectors, ecosystems, businesses are affected in one form or another. Therefore, we must protect our small and medium enterprises that are crucial to this economy. The informal sector has stagnated as SMEs observe to stay at home and curfew guidelines set by GOK, and therefore we need collectively to see how possible then we can go back to our businesses, but as long as we commit as the private sector, we are going to follow the guidelines that have been put in place by the Ministry of Health and the government in terms of social distances. With those few closing remarks, I thank you, all of you. I thank you, Patrick. I thank the Housing and Financing Group, and I assure you that we shall work very closely with you to support our members. Thank you, and God bless.
Okay, thank you very much, dear panelists. Thank you to all our participants. As we close, I just want to advise the participants and also the presenters, there has been significant request for contacts to be shared. So we will reach out to your office, the contacts, so that then we can share with the participants. And as I have highlighted earlier, we will share the feedback on the questions that have been raised. As our group CEO have said, HF is open for business, and we are happy to this journey with you. And as I alluded at the beginning call, that if you have areas you want to share with us, I wish you all a good, productive day and the rest of the week. Thank you very much for taking time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.